Yes. Now we start. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you, all of our guest speaker, attendees from all over the world. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome another time for a new session, a new topic, a new guest speaker. Let's welcome first Mr. James Green from the USA. Uh, Thank you very much, our guest speaker. He joins us for the second time, and we hope that he will join us more and more. Of course, I am Shawki Hawawra, the president of the Arab English Teachers Association. I welcome you all in our 40th session about different topics, different guest speakers from different countries from all over the world. Welcome our participants that join us every session and hope that you will get benefit from our new session as usual. Now, I let you with Mr. James to introduce himself for us. Please, the floor is yours now, Mr. James. Thank you another time for accepting our invitation. Help yourself.
Th- Thank you so much, Shoka. So as she said, I'm James Green. I'm an English teacher in New York in the United States. And I work at a nonprofit in Syracuse, New York, known as RISE, Refugee Immigrant Self-Empowerment. We work with refugees who come to New York, getting them resettled, assisted with services and education, healthcare, employment, things like this. And so my role in the organization is as an English teacher. And I also do online classes. I've taught English for a long time, about 20 years in China, Japan, and the United States. And my interest is in creating groups that have meaning, that can work together, and to make education self-directed and meaningful for students. So I'm really, really thrilled to be invited and to have everyone here interested in this topic about drama and literature in teaching English. This is a kind of precious topic to me, and in particular, I have, before my career as an English teacher, I've done a lot of drama myself. It's just my background. I went to a high school that was a performing arts high school in New York City, and we were writing plays and performing plays in a little black box, we call it, black box stage studio in our high school, as well as larger performances. And I did go on. I did a degree at New York University in film and television production, where we did a lot of story writing, working with actors, understanding stories, writing screenplays for movies. And so it's just really, I think, exciting for me to see where there is this overlap between storytelling and teaching English. And there is so much overlap. When I was teaching in Japan, I had a class that was dedicated to performing some movies. We would read the screenplays to movies, and students would act out small scenes from the movies. We would watch the movies, and it was a great, an easy, direct way to show the context, the situation, the people, and the story, what was happening, right? And it makes it more interesting, more relatable when you can see it happening on the TV, or better yet, if we can read it and understand what's happening. So two classes that I teach currently related to drama and literature. One is related to classic literature, Greek classic literature. I have a personal interest in in ancient Greece, ancient Greek culture, mythology, and philosophy. And so I do an advanced class. It's a philosophy class where we read, it's an English class for advanced English students. We read the dialogues of Plato. And these are stories about some characters in classic Greek culture who had philosophical discussions. And some of them are a little bit dense, but others are much more lively, easier to relate to, and really bring up a lot of interesting questions for discussion. So it's a good, appropriate class for advanced students, people who are interested in having discussions about some of these philosophical topics. What is justice? What would what kind of ideal society would you create? How do you know if somebody is being authentic or dishonest? I mean, there's no end to interesting questions that come up in these dialogues, and then to have the ability to read them, to discuss what's happening, and then engage in the same questions. I find it to be a meaningful class. I'd love to talk with you more about that if you're interested. The other class I want to tell you about is the role play class that I do. If you came to my lecture when I visited you last time, this topic of role play, using role play in classes came up, and I know some teachers had mentioned that they use it. They find it very useful and meaningful. And so I want to raise that again because it's such a useful tool and doorway into storytelling in an English classroom, especially for beginners, because beginners are going to not be able to read the literature, even, as you know, the simple 6 to 10 sentence dialogues in a textbook that just show the briefest story you can give to students. They'll struggle with that. And yet beginners can work to create their own stories from nothing, right? We can create with some of the most basic elements who, what, and where. I find with just those 3 questions, answers to those 3 questions, who, what, and where, we can a beginner group can have a sense of meaning, creativity, and a variety, of possible storylines to begin and develop. So, if you remember last time I was here, I also put a strong emphasis on interactivity. I would like to open this call up here now to hear from you about anything that I've said that is interesting to you. In particular, I'd love to know if any of you, there's the static again. If we could just, okay, thank you. Sorry, if you were unmuting yourself to talk, great. Please do so. But if not, then just stay on mute. So, but I have no problem if you interrupt me, or actually we might have it set up now that you'll have to raise your hand, which is fine. So I'll just finish my questions. What I'd like to know is if you're teaching a class that is using drama or literature in any way, what you're finding to be useful and works, or if you have some issue or question related to that, I'd love to hear it. And just maybe start by telling me your name and then go ahead and speak. So I'm going to put it back to you. If you'd like to raise your hand, please go ahead. Let's see. You can also maybe say so in the.
Yes. Yes, the first one person is Dr. Osman. Please help yourself and begin answering. Dr. Osman.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas and long experience in teaching English language for as a second language or for foreigners. Okay, first of all, this is a very interesting topic. Okay, and I thank you for your topic and the illustration that you provide us. First of all, I would like to say, okay, I use teaching drama not in the holistic way, but okay, part of it. As you said, okay, maybe 3, 4, 5 sentences can be storytelling, especially for students. And I found it very motivating because always kids are engaged in the story and they feel, okay, the information provided to them in a very good way. This is number one. Number two, the language there is authentic for them and very communicative. So the students can enjoy listening and participate, and then they can reflect on it. Okay, this is my point of view, and thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Dr. Osman, thank you so much. I think that that's a great point. The authenticity that can be achieved is really valuable for a number of reasons. Like you said, the students have a sense that the language is real, it's being used in a real way, especially if it's coming from the students. If they're creating characters where the characters in the story are interacting, even if they're not using perfect English, perfect grammar, the impact, I think, of them having a chance to use it in a real way with each other is very important. It gives it gives confidence to them that they can take and make the language their own, because it's a real barrier to have the students always be told it's this way, it's this way, it's this way. They've got to take that in all the time to finally for them to get in the chance to use it with each other, not the teacher, with another character, not even another student, in a story that makes sense to them, I think is a real boost. And like you said, it is authentic. So I see some requests for me to share slides. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I don't have any slides to share you. This is going to be all voice, and so I'm very sorry about that again. But I see also Tasneem, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. This is Tasneem from Kuwait. I teach middle school here. I have used the drama, basically the script writing. I've tried using it, and I have the benefit of that is it gives a different perspective for every character, like how they see the character. Basically, whenever we are teaching, we give our point of view. We say that character is like that, but when they write the role, they see the character in their voice, in their perspective. So I find it beneficiary because everyone can see the character in different way.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. So I think what you're saying is that when, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you present them the opportunity to write the script themselves. You give them the frame. For example, um, a shopkeeper, somebody who sells clothing, you give them that original frame,
uh,
and then
n-
go ahead.
Actually, I had not given them open that script. I had read them a memoir, and it was a memoir. I wanted them to develop that as in more, and then I asked them, okay, now you be Mrs. Price, and then you have to be like, what was the background of her behavior? Why did she behave like that? So if she had the dialogue before when she entered the class, and why was her attitude like this? Because everyone has, when we develop a character, the character has a background to have that attitude.
Wow, great. So that's going into it even deeper than I expected, but that's wonderful. So you're going into the psychology, maybe the motivations of the background of the characters in the stories,
Yes.
and the students are developing that. Fantastic.
Yes. Yes. And that helps because not only for our language skills, but overall the skills of, because I think English is a life skill. So it teaches us how to even, as in society.
Yes, absolutely. So I think if you're going to that depth, there's such a wealth of possibilities that open up at that depth, because really you're beginning to create actual literature with the students, and you can take that really as far as you have time with them to go. There's no limit to it, right? So we can develop detailed stories with detailed characters, and all of those psychological, personal aspects are relevant. They are relevant to daily life. Real people really think about this and talk about these topics when we talk to our friends, our family, at work. It's relevant and important to be able to think and discuss the things that other people think and the reasons and motivations that people do things. So if you can open that doorway into the students beginning to think about that, where it's depersonalized in a fictional universe, I think it creates a safe playground to then explore the topics of value and interest to the students. And it sounds like you're doing that, and it's succeeding.
Yes, it helps. It helps because now they get a player. It's like it's their world. Now they have to view at people how they take that person. Like for example, if we have to speak about Cinderella, we have been learning about that Cinderella was being tortured and she was like with a stepmom, everything. But again, there were flaws in Cinderella too. Why did she step out of the house? Why did she do certain things which were not allowed?
So you present the story, and then you ask them to think what's going on in the story. You're reading literature together and then discussing what is
Yes,
underneath the story that is given to them.
yes,
Mhm.
because why should I have my perspective or my point of view being just given to them?
Yes.
As growing up, we have our teachers used to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that you as a teacher have your own perspective about what's going on for the characters, but then you're asking the students to think about it themselves. Makes complete sense to me. And then I'm thinking that there's two possible tracks, right? There's one track which is the what you're describing basically, which is um, literature. We as teachers can teach literature. We can read a story and discuss it. I mean, this is um, hopefully, one of the great goals of learning a language is that it opens up the literature of that language. I imagine people here from different cultures and backgrounds, we have different literature backgrounds. I grew up reading American literature in my junior high schools and high schools, and then we expand to different literatures. But you
Yes.
have whatever. Go, yeah, go ahead. Who's that? Is
Yes,
that
Mr.
Tasneem?
Al-Hassan writes in the chat box, are there
Yeah.
any steps that we can follow when teaching a drama so as to motivate the students? What should we respect for the difference of grades? He means according to the levels of the students.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So great. So
Yes, this is his question.
yeah, thank you. So I just want to keep that separate from Miss Tasneem's topic, which is literature. I really think it's important to distinguish between teaching literature and teaching drama. And if there's somebody, I hear somebody, if you could mute if you're not talking, please. The drama, teaching of drama is going to be, I think, somewhat different. It doesn't mean you couldn't do it in the same class, but discussing the story versus performing the story or creating the story, you're going to take different approaches. Now, there's all manner of grades, right? So yes, there's different grades, but children love drama. I mean, I think one of the things that drama is great for is going down to the child, but adults as well. So you know, just as you've got to tailor whatever subject you're teaching to the age group, I'm kind of making this presentation, since there's so many of you here, assuming that you're going to tailor it to the appropriate age group. You're not going to be teaching Shakespeare to 10-year-olds. I imagine maybe you could. There are simplified versions of classic literature children can relate to, and you can introduce the ideas, right? I talked about, I like classic Greek literature. The actual Greek literature is too advanced for children, but if you find the right angle, right? You know, children love stories of mythology, the magical creatures, the adventure heroes. So it's a matter, I think, of you know your age group and your level, and you've got to find, and sorry, there's some scratching audio. You can mute. If you're not talking, please make sure to mute. But you find the appropriate material. I'm so sorry. I don't want to ignore the fact that there are still people saying that you would like slides. I'm so sorry. I don't have slides for you. So that's just,
Yes,
you know, going to be
also they
disappointed.
contact
Yeah.
me, Mr. James, they contact me and ask if there is a presentation. I said to them that Mr. James depends a lot on interaction and discussion, because it is, I think it is more helpful in order to activate and to interact between the speaker and the guest, the
It's
attendee,
fine.
sorry.
I love
Yes.
knowing what people want and hearing that so many people are interested in slides. I will consider it if I come back, but there's no changing it for this time. So I just want to let you know it's not a technical thing. I didn't do slides, and I don't usually do slides, but I'm taking in your feedback. I appreciate it. So, but back to
Okay,
the
may I add here something? Or if
name,
you
please. Name, please.
My name is Dr. Uthman. Dr. Uthman again.
Osma again. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, concerning Tasni, Ms. Tasniman, what she says here, I think there's a misunderstanding, or there's a little confusion between teaching and learning. Okay, I think she was speaking about learning. Okay, the learning process inside the classroom with drama as a content is very effective, because students here are going to learn collaboratively. So they can be in small groups, they can discuss the characters, they can have a role play, okay, and this is learning. But for us as teacher, concerning the teaching process, here we may speak about, here we have two dimensions, okay, for me. First of all, teaching drama as drama, or teaching English through drama, okay? So there should be distinguish between two approach. Teaching English through grammar, okay, that means, okay, we are going to teach reading, listening, speaking, grammar through drama. So we are going to present them as a content, then we are going to analyze all those aspects of language through drama. And teaching drama itself as drama, so here, as you said, and I appreciate that because you clarify it in a very good way. The age, okay, the age of the students is very important, because we cannot consider a student at a primary school to do critical thinking or high level of thinking and so on. This is for all the students, maybe. And thank you very much.
Thank you again, Dr. Osmo. Now, I don't want to write off the younger students at all. Without a doubt, the younger students are perfectly capable of understanding stories, of writing stories, and even performing their own stories if guided into it step by step. And I think, some El Hassan was asking, what are the steps? Well, think about what would the steps, you can think it through based on where your students are at. If they're at 0, if they've never done any drama together, then you've got to start with the basics. Start with the question, what is a story? What is a character? There are aspects to teaching drama that allow for so much investigation in these kinds of interesting psychological questions. I wonder even here if what people would say, to that question, what is a story? I can give you an example of a story. Is it just a person or multiple people and the things that happen to them? Or is it more? Is there more structure to it? Is there a beginning, middle, and an end? Is there a climax? The teaching of literature going together with drama and all of that vocabulary related to the structure of a story, I think is really compelling. They may never have heard of any of those ideas before. It's not, if you don't study literature or screenwriting, these are things which you might not even be aware of as part of the story creation process. So you can teach the story creation process, and you might have to learn that for yourself. That's beyond the scope of this class, but there's plenty of materials out there for people who are interested in storytelling. The thing that I like to do, one of my,
Miss
go ahead,
Aya,
go ahead.
sorry for interruption, but Miss Aya is raising her hand. Please unmute yourself and go ahead. Miss Aya Jamil. Yeah,
Yes,
Jamil, unmute yourself. Yes, welcome.
hello. First, I want to say,
Hello.
teacher, I am a student of English language at university.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Uh,
Go
for,
ahead.
Yes.
for me, if I were a teacher, I will let my student to choose the text that they are interested in, so they won't get bored of the text. And I will encourage them to write questions about the text. Uh, it is difficult for beginner to write a story at first. So I'll follow them step by step.
Yes, wonderful. So
Great.
I'm fully supportive of your desire to make your classroom
Yes.
somewhat democratic. You'd like them to choose the story. I think that's great. If they can find their voice and their interest and let you know what they want to read, I say go for it. I sometimes find that it's useful to have something prepared so that if they can't make up their mind, I can always give them a choice. In fact, sometimes the easiest way to make people find their own interest is to present something that is not their interest. So at least you have a choice, right? You have something, a story that you feel that as the teacher you've decided is appropriate and would be meaningful. And then if they say, no, thanks, we'd rather do this other thing, and you can be flexible enough to go with that, then I think that only shows that shows your strength as a teacher, and it'll show it will the students will recognize that. And then now
But Mr. James,
go ahead.
sorry for interruption. I want to ask Miss Aya, is it allowed in our curricula, in our Ministry of Educations to do so? We as educators, we hope to do so. Many times I said to my students, for example, if I had a choice to choose my topic, especially in literature, I will do it. But we are restricted to follow our curricula. So
Sure.
what will we do? Yes.
Sure. And I
This
just
is
want
the
to
problem.
This is not Aya's situation. This is going to apply to everyone. Everybody is going to have their own unique circumstance, which you must, as as a teacher in that circumstance, address. And if that means that the curriculum and the down to the book, what book you're reading is already decided, well, that is necessary to work with. I wouldn't tell you otherwise. You work within the limits that you are presented with. That may even be, like I said, that basic conversation that they present in the language textbooks that are totally ubiquitous, and right, we see them over and over again. There's certain conversations about meeting your friends, going to the movies, all of the things, all of the scenarios that the traditional language textbook presents us with. However, I still think even when the curriculum is decided to that extent, there is some wiggle room, so that if I have a scenario given to me in the textbook, I can still invite those students to change it, to alter it, to consider other possibilities. If you open some creative avenues, really, there's always something else you can do. You might not be able to read the novel you want in your classroom or that the students want. Unfortunately, I think, it's too bad, but that just may be the limits, and we work within the limits. There's some other people, I think, who have had their hands up, and I would love to hear. Go ahead, Hiba.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Yes. Hello. I'm Dr. Hiba Othman from Egypt. Actually, it's nice being with you here. I teach for university students, and I teach drama actually in different ways. One of the ways that, and usually I teach some of the classics, Shakespearean plays like The Tempest and Macbeth and King Lear and so on. So first we read the text together and we analyze the text from the literary point of view and the linguistic point of view. So we have some like character analysis, talking about some literary skills like irony. We have something like a characterization and so on. And when we are done, I ask them to like put themselves in the place or in the shoes of one of the characters, and they are free to improvise what the character may do. If you like to change the character, maybe like attitude or behavior or like his actions, they are free to do this. And because actually it's in an old English, so sometimes I had some resistance from my students, like doing the or speaking in old English. Some of them like the idea, others would like to modernize it. So I give them the chance again to modernize the version that we have. And other activity or other project I do with them to modernize the whole play, right? The whole play that we studied, and write it from the perspective of our modern time. You got me? So we start again. Yes. So we start again, modernize the play. What would happen if the play like occurred or the characters and they were in our modern time? What can they do? So we start modernizing the play, and I got many actually interesting ideas and even jokes and so on. So actually we enjoy, and the students enjoyed acting out the play. And then we compare other activity or other project, comparing the drama that we are teaching with movies. Sometimes we have some media analysis, like comparing the drama with like a movie for the Tempest, for example. And of course, we have some like changes in the characters or roles. For example, in the Tempest, in one of the the Prospero, I mean the main character in the Tempest, it was one of the movie changed to Prospero. It's a female character. So why do we have such a change, and what is the effect on, I mean, on the play itself? So we start analyzing. A third thing I did with them, we study analysis skill, okay, and I give them like hints, or not hints, but actually it's a whole like presentation about how to dramatize a novel. how to use stage directions, and how to change it from chapters into scenes. How can we do this? So sometimes so I did last year, actually. I taught them A Tale of Two Cities, and we changed it into a whole play, not a novel, actually. And it worked. Not with all the students, again, because sometimes you have some like low level students, but like the majority liked the idea. We have like different ways, I mean, of teaching literature in general and drama in particular. Thank you.
So Dr. Heba, thank you so much. It's very clearly you're doing all of the things that I think would be create a very educational and entertaining curriculum. I do think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, though, the level of students, if you're teaching university students and going to this extent where you're translating Shakespeare into modern English and the Tale of Two Cities into these are not students who are learning English as a second language. They must already be fluent, advanced English speakers in order to deal with this kind of material, right?
Yes, yes, of course, yes. University,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
level
May I?
Uh,
May I?
One
Luis,
moment, one moment,
Luis
one moment.
wants.
So what? I just want to know who would like to speak. Just tell me your name, and then I want
Dr.
to go back
Osman.
to
Yes,
Dr. Osman.
Mr. Luis, please, Dr. Osman. He wants to say, he asks, shall I share a story for the teachers
No,
in
no,
the
no.
chat box? Yes,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. There's a bit of a line. So I just want to
yes,
finish my interaction with Dr. Heba. So and then I then go to Dr. Osman and Mr. Louise. So Dr. Heba, you're I think introducing what it means to teach literature and drama, which which is totally valid and I think would be a little different than the way I would teach a group of students who are still learning English. Even some of the advanced students, I would say, would struggle to read Shakespeare. Right, because reading Shakespeare in English is different than reading um, modern English. And so even a native English speaker is going to be struggling to learn and understand what's going on in Hamlet and in a way that I could then discuss it. So um, I think it is. I think it's two different things. I love literature, so I love hearing about it. Your classes sound very fun. I think I would love to participate in them, and very interesting. So thank you, Dr. Heba. And so your question, Mr. Louise, was it? You had a story to share
yes,
for the teachers. Go ahead.
Hello.
yes.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Okay, Mr. Green, I would like to say thank you, first of all, that you touched the topic that is close to my heart. And I would like to share a story which could really help the teachers who are listening now. Well, by the way, I'm English and French language teacher. So, once upon a time, a group of people, they lived in a cave. They lived in the darkness of the cave where they couldn't see anything. They would see only the shadows, and they were not aware of the oceans, rivers, trees, plants. One day, what happened is that one of them found somehow the other some light, and he went out of the cave. He went outside and he saw animal, plants, trees, and he heard the songs of the birds. And this person was really happy, just happy like you, Mr. Green. And this person came back after some time to the cave and told his fellow beings that he had seen something else, something different. So, what happened? Uh, the people who were in the cave, they were uneasy. They were really not comfortable what they heard. So, they were fighting with each other. and they thought that the person who was out of the cave, he has become crazy. So finally they killed him. So why exactly did they kill him? I quite often tell this story to my students, and also this story is close to my heart. When I was listening to you in the beginning, I thought that I'm going to share this story to you, so that because some of you said that sometimes we are not allowed to teach this or that. Well, I believe as a teacher, teacher is all in all, and teacher has to plan to develop students' four C's. Four C's means critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication while teaching English, French, or any language. So this is what I wanted to say, that we as teacher, we have to be out of the cave, and we should not be always in our comfort zones. So I am first time participating and listening you, Mr. James Green, and I would love to listen you more. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Louise. So actually, you probably know that story is one of the stories that I teach in my classes. It's the allegory of the cave, right? It is part of
Yeah,
Plato's Republic.
Plato's allegory.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's just as you say, it's relevant for so many situations. Plato I find so relevant and interesting. So, and I think, yeah, great example. Thank you so much. Dr. Osman, was it you who was wanting to get in? I'd love to hear from you again. And I know I think we have just, you correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 10 more minutes to the call, but I wanted to make sure anyone else who had
Okay.
their hands up would also get
Okay.
in. Like, go ahead.
Okay. I will be short, inshallah. Okay. Regarding those who say that we don't have choices, okay, to choose our novels, this cannot be happen in formal education because all the teachers should be on the same page, teach the same curricula, but we as teachers can teach it in a way that suits our abilities, suit our students' achievement, the way that can motivate the students. Okay, whatever the novel is or the drama is, we can teach it in a very lovely way regarding the student attitudes and the other psychological factors. This is number one. Number two, yeah, I agree with you totally. Okay, that the teachers or the students' age should be considered by teacher, as Mr. Luis also said that you cannot say all the things that you know to the students. The students should be dealt with regard their standard and their grades and the law of achievement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Mosina, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say something? Dr. Mosina Khalil?
Dr. Muhsina Khalil. Now you can unmute yourself and talk. Dr. Muhsina. Miss Wafa Maddoukh, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Miss Wafa Maddoukh. Miss Wafa, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Dr. Muhsina, maybe they have some problem with their mics.
It's okay. It's okay. So in the meantime, while people are working out their mics or deciding if they want to talk, I just want to say that, this topic, as we're hearing, there is so much here. It's really, we cannot do it justice in this short amount of time for the different kinds of students and the different kinds of situations that you all might find yourselves in. I really liked what Dr. Osman just said right just now, which is that we find ways to make it relevant and appropriate for the students we teach. I like to teach philosophy, but the students don't come to me for a philosophy class. So I offer a little bit of an angle from classic Greek literature and philosophy. And I always also keep in mind, why are the students coming to my class? They're looking for work. I teach adults. I teach adults who have not lived in the United States for more than maybe a few months sometimes, and they're looking to survive. And would it be fair to them to teach them just about Greek literature and ignore what they're coming to my class for? No, I want to be teaching the students and be receptive to what their needs are. So I think that that's the same for any context, whether it's a public school or private tutoring. We come with a toolbox of things because our students are not teachers. They don't know what might be possible. And then we present a menu relevant to the context and then work with that based on their skills and interests. So anyone else have a thought or
Yes,
any
Dr.
comments?
Muhsina.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Muhsina, please unmute yourself. There is a problem, maybe.
I want to say something. I think it is hard to make a class interesting if we are not interested in the subject matter. Maybe that goes without saying. I'm not sure. Maybe you probably you probably know this as a teacher, but for the story to teach the story in a compelling way, I think it needs to be compelling to us. I would find it difficult to teach literature that I found to be meaningless, to be boring or flat in some way, if I couldn't find meaning in it. And it's not the case that it can't be meaningful if it's bad literature. There is bad literature, and we can teach about good literature by teaching why something is bad. It can be meaningful to us in that way, because it's like any piece of artwork. It stands or falls as it is, and we can present it and discuss it. Why is this interesting, or why is it not interesting? What is timeless about it, or what is limited, right? Many high school students who in America who study Shakespeare, or who are asked or forced to study Shakespeare, right? And Shakespeare tends to be part of the standard curriculum of a U.S. high school. There are many students who say, why should I learn how to read stories written in a form of English that nobody speaks? Why should I do that? I don't want to. Well, maybe they shouldn't. I know that I love it. I love the window into modern English that reading Shakespearean English gives me. I find it fascinating. I find it poetic and fun. It's entertaining, and not every student may feel that way. But I wouldn't feel bad teaching Shakespeare to a student that was required to learn it, because I find it interesting, and I've gained so much from it. And in some ways, being a student and learning something new, being presented something that they might otherwise choose not to do, seems to be a part of almost all schools, right? So we can at least work to find the angle that, for example, Dr. Heba was talking about that angle, right? It may not be interesting to read the original Shakespeare written in the Old English, but then you can find, right, Hamlet. If you don't know, Hamlet has, and Macbeth, and many of the Shakespeare stories have been translated into modern versions, into different versions. I don't know if there's a Hamlet in outer space, but there probably is. There may be, if you go into it, if you investigate, you may be able to find the angle that is compelling and interesting for the students that you're teaching. It takes a little bit of homework on the teacher's part. Over to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Muhsina, is there any problem? Please write in the chat box.
It's okay. It seems that Dr. Mosina is having a problem. That's a great idea. If there's a problem, to write it in the chat box. And I saw you have your hand up again, Dr. Osman. Please go ahead. You can speak again if you like.
Yes, Miss Wafa says it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So Miss Wafa, if you have any question, please write it in the chat box and we will read it for you. Miss Wafa is
Okay.
a supervisor from Palestine.
Okay. Actually, I want to comment on what did Dr. Hiba say here. She said that the students use the literature as a model to write or modernize it. Okay, yeah, I find it a very good idea and very creative idea, but okay, it may conflict with the aim of teaching literature itself, because regarding to my own perspective, okay, I see literature as analysis and critical thinking and how to analyze the setting, the plot, the character, the getcha, the hero and heroine. But okay, making it as a model to write as if we are expecting our students to be writers. Okay, if this is the purpose, okay, it is going to be a very good way of using drama so as to make our students in the future great writer or author. Okay, otherwise, I think it can be extracurricular, or as you said, Mr. Green, okay, it can be what activity for the students to be done at home. But inside the classroom, students should be focused on the aim of the lectures or the aim of the lesson. Okay, that's what I want to comment about. And thank you very much.
All great points. I want to say them again because I think that it's so essential. That teaching literature is about teaching analysis and critical thinking. I completely agree, because you're doing it together as a group, step by step. What is it to think about what you're reading? You're reading it, thinking about it, and you're seeing, if in the classroom through discussion, you get to see what other people think and how they think and who thinks differently and who thinks similarly. So you're thinking about thinking, which is what critical thinking is, and you're breaking the story elements apart, and you're all looking at the same story. I mean, this could have been a piece of literature just as easily as it could have been a newspaper article or a current event. But the point is that you're taking that process not only of thinking, but of listening, right? Because inevitably, if you're discussing these topics, and pieces of literature bring up topics and issues, usually that are universal: love, violence, conflict, all of these universal topics that appear in our stories, the students will be able to discuss and hopefully not just learn how to tell their own ideas, but listen to their classmates' ideas and be able to have a constructive discussion that then develops into something. Whether you are, as you said, using the literature as a model to become a writer or to teach writing, or you're simply using it as a stepping stone to teach history or politics. One of the other classes that I would like to start teaching actually is based on the novel by George Orwell, 1984. Some of my students it has come up. It's a political story, and my students are interested in politics. And so they've actually started reading 1984 by themselves. Well, I think it's a novel that has great, relevance issues for discussion. It came from the students, and depending upon what you're teaching, you might find a similar novel that then goes into that area of history, right? A lot of historical novels. Someone I know was teaching a novel based in Egypt. When I was a student, we studied The Grapes of Wrath, American literature about the Great Depression in the United States. I mean, the point is with literature, it's so expansive. You can go anywhere if you have the freedom to choose the novel. You can go anywhere, and if not, you have the freedom to teach it in such a way that is interesting and meaningful. So thank you for your comments, Dr. Osman. I am keeping an eye on the chat in case people's microphones are not working and you wanted to say a word. I'm just going to read out a comment that I see from Arlette. Greetings from Toluca, Mexico. I had some technical issues. Certificate question, drama course this year, excitement. Yeah, great. I don't know what your name is because I don't read Arabic, but you see, it says that you face struggles when you are reading text written in Old English, but your professors helped you. Yeah, I still don't know Shakespeare. I am not fluent in Shakespearean English, and yet I have performed as a professional Shakespearean actor. I have done paid work. I've been paid to act doing Shakespeare, and I do not know Shakespearean English fluently. I would still need to use a dictionary and study it carefully to understand what on earth does this passage mean, because it's practically a different language. So please, enjoy the point about Shakespearean English is to enjoy that window into the history of English. So back to you for anybody who wants to come in. I like to leave space for interaction. Riham Hilal, did you raise your hand?
Yes, some or many asks about the form of certification. Before
Hello.
the end of the session, we will send it. Hello, hi,
Hello,
welcome.
hi. I'm really so happy about such a wonderful session. Actually, it's amazing, and I really feel like like I'm a child on my toes.
Please introduce yourself. First of all, introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Riham Hilal. I'm from Egypt, and I'm an English teacher. And I would like to thank you for that topic so
Welcome.
much.
Great,
So
great. Very, very good to meet you. Go ahead, Rihal.
Okay, so my question here about the dramatization of text in the curriculum of schools. All right, is it possible, or I will face so many troubles doing that? I mean,
You're
like,
asking.
I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like drama books to teach in our schools, but we have some text. Could I really change them into like some sort of a play so that my students feel like not bored about the text itself? Do I need some sort of tools to help me, or what? Just my question.
Oh, gosh. So you're talking about because I just need to understand a little bit more concretely. You the drama box. Are you describing the text in the conversation of the story? I'm not sure what you mean by drama box.
Yeah, so what I mean actually is that I have just normal topics like any other topic. It's like just a topic. So we have to make it like in a form of a drama. We talk about food. So we just got to change that into some sort of a small play in order that the students could really understand the whole lesson about geography maybe. So it's called dramatization. So is it possible in the classes or it will be some sort of difficult?
Got it. Okay. Well, Now, I can't promise you that you won't run into difficulties. I think as a teacher, we do run into difficulties, right? And that's, in a way, that's our job, is to figure out what the difficulty is and try to undifficult it, right? We have to work with our specific situation, and I don't know exactly what your difficulties will be, but my first instinct is to say, try it and see what the difficulties are. Don't be scared of there being difficulties, right? So you will learn based on trying it out. You may fail and learn something in the process. So then when you do it again, you'll do it better. I didn't start by knowing how to do role plays. I just started doing role plays by myself. I took a class on role plays and I learned a few things, and you can get that from a book. Certainly, there are common ways to perform, but I wouldn't wait to have the perfect understanding. Like I said earlier, I can create a drama with a beginner class with 3 simple questions: who, what, and where. So I think the topic example that you gave was either was food or geography. And I'm trying to imagine, right, well, food and eating is certainly a common topic. Geography, not sure exactly what you mean by teaching geography, but it could be just, right, what if it was a geography class? Okay, so the actual dramatization is the geography class. And students love this. Students love to play being students or being the teacher to other students, right? Because they know that. That's a common experience. So imagine that. The story that they're doing is a geography class. And so you've got everything. You've got the who. Well, you've got a geography teacher and students studying geography. You've got where in the classroom. And then what is a little bit more open. You can, right, maybe they're teaching about Africa. Well, suddenly you have all of the elements ready for the students to create their own story. You give those 3 elements to 10 different classes, they will create 10 different stories. And you can work with that. You can offer suggestions, you can offer phrases, you can offer ideas based on, if you're actually also teaching geography, you can then, introduce the let's say the geography of Africa so that they have elements to bring into their story, like a buffet or a menu, right? Pieces that they can take and use. If you don't see this already, this can be used with literally anything. That's kind of the magic of it. It is very open-ended, depending upon what you're teaching and depending upon what knowledge the students have. But I would say give it a try. Would you be open to that, Rihal?
Yeah, no, actually,
Yes.
actually, really, I'm open to this one. I tried many times, but every time I really have a problem in that I feel something is missing. So I thought about, should I really take a courses on drama? I mean, like drama, like how to prepare the scenes, how to just prepare the costumes. When should they start? When should they stand? How they stand? Or just we will do this for fun.
So now, if you're talking about that level of investment in a drama activity, that I would say is a whole other level, right? I'm not talking about anything like costumes and scenery. Of course, that is possible. That's a couple of levels more advanced, right? That would require, I would think, a serious plan to do a performance, and that I don't think that's really what we're talking about here. Although I would say if you can do that, go ahead. I think
Okay,
at least
may I please? Yeah.
Who's that name?
Yeah, Dr. Osman again. Sorry.
Sure. Hold on one second, Dr. Osman. Let me just finish with Rihal. about her issue. Okay, so Rihal, I think what especially you're saying, you're not sure. Start small. Forget the costumes and the scenery and the audience. You've got the classroom. That's the beginning. There are little things that you can develop that will make to make it go. And actually hearing that you've done this, I didn't realize you had done this. You said you have a problem. You were a little bit vague. You said that you feel like something is missing. Could you say a little bit more what you think is missing from the times you've tried it?
Sometimes the students, okay, when I just try to change the text into a sort of dialogue, okay, so it seems like kind of smooth, but students still feel some kind of that the text is actually some sort of not tough, not smooth. It's not the kind of dialogue. Maybe is it formal because it's formal, or maybe I should really change the language itself. I mean, like change it to informal. Still, I don't know, like I'm kind of novice teacher, so I need some sort of direction. So I'm just, like doing things with my mind in my class. I'm trying a lot of things. So I don't know. So what language should I really transform the text into? Is it should be formal or non-formal according to the educational system? I didn't really get so many things. This is one of them.
Yeah, so you're juggling a number of different issues, right? And each one of them has its own kind of things you have to work through. Like, well, yeah, you're asking about what is the educational system requiring from you regarding the language that they're learning. That sounds like it would be useful to know and to include. So if the students are expected to learn certain grammatical structures, and you are planning, and you can plan to include those in, let's say, the suggestions that you're giving, well, that will make it easier for the students to identify those structures, right? Because they're getting to use them and they're being advised to use them. That's an extra step of planning. Then the other issue that you described, it sounds like there's some text. It's not a dialogue, it's just text, right? Because if you're studying about the geography of Africa, it doesn't present it as a conversation. It presents it as an expository, as an explanation, right? Africa has this many countries, and in this place, there's this mountain range. Well, yes, it does take some creativity to move from that explanation of that topic to a drama, which is about people. An explanation about Africa may include people and it may not, but a drama is always going to include people, almost always, right? There's a few Hollywood movies where the main character is just an animal and you follow the animal around, but most stories are about people and the interactions of people, and it takes some thought. But you can involve the students in that process. You might not know it, and you might let the students work with you to think it through. New teacher, it might be a little risky, right? Students don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it could lead to some dead ends. But I think learning, if you really want to learn how to do it, it's going to require a little bit of risk taking on your part. That's just my opinion, though.
Thank you so much for this one. I really felt at rest, and I really will take all your notes into considerations in order to make myself much more better and try to apply them more accurately. Thank you.
I'm so happy.
Thank
I hope
you.
that it was useful.
Thank you. Now, Miss Wafa. Miss Wafa, unmute yourself.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum for all.
Alaikum assalam. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm sorry, first of all, it doesn't work, the sound. I think drama is very important for all teachers in all levels of teaching English at a school. I wouldn't repeat what my colleagues said, but I'd like to add just one one idea. I think it's very important. We can involve our students in drama by drawing or miming or by role playing or by عفواً, by using or following just one strategy, which is very important. It's called the mantle of the expert, عباءة الخبير. So in this strategy. There's a lot of drawings, imagination, fiction, depending on the students' interests, on the students' needs, as Miss Aya mentioned before. Also, depending on multiple intelligences of our students inside the classroom. Also, at the same time, we can adapt the curriculum as possible as we could with our students in all subjects, in geography, English, math, science, history, whatever. Here we depend on fiction, on imagination, and also on drawing. Sometimes you find your students like drawing, like painting, like miming, like acting. Um, so you can here satisfy your own technique or your own strategy, your curriculum, and at the same time it's very important to satisfy our students. So I think here, just to answer Aya's question, could we do or modify drama according to our students' needs or interests? Yes, of course we could, but here the maestro and the king here or the queen is the teacher himself or herself. So I think if you follow the mental of the expert, so it's very nice and wonderful strategy to finish the curriculum on time, to involve most of the students in the lesson or in the text itself. uh, all kinds of subjects we can engage our students, and we can encourage them to speak English as good as they do. Thank you very much for this wonderful and important strategy in teaching English as a foreign language or as a second language. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Miss Wafa.
much.
You are
Yeah,
welcome.
it's really, I think, really wise advice. I could use some of that. I could benefit myself from using more of that in my classes. I think that idea of bringing in just even the variety. I really like this idea that the teacher is the maestro. They are the we can give, we can encourage the students to create something, but they often, I find, will look to the teacher for guidance. And so if I am modeling different ways to be creative myself, one after another, then the students will pick up on the ones that are meaningful to them, and sometimes
Excellent.
on their own. Yeah.
Yeah, our students are very creative, but they
Yeah.
need a creative teacher at the same time. So
Yeah.
we should put this into our consideration. So it's very important to differentiate inside the classroom, depending on the students' learning styles and their multiple intelligences. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree
Thank
with
you.
you. Can I comment on her?
Please.
Thank you, Miss Wafa. I do agree with you. Really, it is, as you said, if there is a creative teacher, he or she can transmit his creativity or her creativity to the students. For instance, I might have did it with my students when I taught them a story, for example, about the goat and the horse in the first secondary curriculum. I asked I asked them, after explaining the lesson, I asked them to send a letter, to imagine themselves as senders, to write a letter and send it to the farmer who did something wrong with the goat, when the goat advised the horse when he became ill, and the goat, as it is his friend, advised the horse to be strong in order not to be killed by the farmer, as the vet told him. So I asked them at the end of the lesson to write a letter to the farmer in order to say to him that you are so wrong with what you did with the goat. When the horse became healthy and recovered from his disease, he asked to make celebration and killed the goat. So there is a lesson from that. And I really was astonished by what they wrote. They wrote very nice and many nice messages to the farmer. So, as you said, our students are so creative, but we should be patient. We should be responsible, initiative, creative, in order to stimulate our students' creativity as well. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. And I just want to respond. This is related to the comment by Arlette Gabrielle, who says role play is a great chance to see how students see us and others while they imitate someone in the class, but do we need to make it too formal? Could it be a simple conversation? And what I think about this, the reason I like doing longer term, long form role plays, meaning that the role play can go for a longer period of time, or it can go in sequences, in segments, is because then it's like combining the literature skills of analysis and critical thinking with the spontaneous skills of having an authentic conversation that comes just on the spot. And so the activity would be something like, you would make it as, you can let the students make it as simple or as complex as makes sense or is able, or they're able to do. Then they're going to learn to adjust. It's like learning to drive a car. If you press on the brake too quickly and the car stops too quickly, you learn to press on the brake slower. They're going to learn to use language which is appropriate. So you right, like the example I gave before, the geography classroom, right? So the students are role playing. They have no idea what the conversation is going to be. Suddenly, they do it and they have a conversation they created. Now, you go to the next step, you go to the analysis and critical thinking, and you discuss the role play. You have a conversation about what they just created. Who is this teacher? Why is this teacher doing this? What's the next thing that happens in this story? Do we follow the teacher? Maybe the teacher goes home and has a conversation, or goes to the staff office and has a conversation with the math teacher. Okay, that might be interesting. Shall we go that way? Or no, maybe we want to follow the students. One of the students goes home and has a conversation with their father about Africa. Is that interesting? Right? So the students are learning, hey, I am not just creating and using language appropriately in that scene, but I'm also thinking about the scene, analyzing it, seeing its meaning, and seeing what is interesting, where I want to take it next. So again, it's as simple or as complicated as you want it to be, in agreement with the students, and it can involve a number of the elements that everybody has been discussing, the multiple intelligences as well as the whole creative process. Now, I think that is the end for me. I've been here for now 90 minutes, and I want to bring this great call to a close. I just wanted, before we end, to give people just one last opportunity to make any brief comments just to wrap up about their experience today, whether you liked what we did, with something you didn't like, you wanted something different, something that you learned, or something that you might want to do after having been here and listened to this discussion. Last few minutes before we end.
Yes, now, so this is the time for reflection on this session. What do you learn? What was the benefit of this session? If there is any comment, either positive or negative, go ahead, please.
My
Name, please.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Osman.
Go ahead, Dr. Osman.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's highly appreciated what you did today. You deliver it in a very appropriate way. You open windows and doors in our minds to think and rethink again about our strategy, teaching drama, teaching in general, how to deal with the students, how to consider the differences in classes, and how to consider the students' level of understanding, the student age. You did it in a very appropriate way. So listening to this session, like reading 10 books. Okay, thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of all the audience today. And I wish we have you soon, inshallah, okay, to benefit from your experience. Thank you very much.
That's very kind. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you, Doctor. You were very active. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Amir says fruitful session. Mr. Al Hassan adds a great discussion. Thank you so much. Alert adds, I'm a history teacher, so I want to ask my student to study the life of a character and present it, acting it out, and make it catchy and more interesting. Thank you a lot. Thank you very much. Yes, if there is any comment, please go ahead. Dr. Muhsina, if you can unmute yourself, so then go ahead. Dr. Muhsina. It seems that she still has the same problem. Yes. Anybody else?
Well, I just want to end by saying that it was a real honor to have such a distinguished and well-informed group to have this discussion with me. It's clear to me that many of you are already doing a lot of drama and literature in your classes, which I think is really wonderful, exciting, and so I'm very happy just to have had chance to have this talk with you, and I wish you all the best of luck and success in your ongoing careers. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Miss Wafa wants to add something. She's raising her hand, please. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Shawqiya and Mr. James and all the participants for this wonderful discussion, for this for a drama, which is an exciting strategy for teaching not only English, but also all the subjects that the students learn. But it depends on both kings, the students and the teacher themselves. Thank you very much.
Here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wafa. Dr. Uthman, if you want to add anything else before we end. Dr. Uthman. Yes, so lastly, we want to thank Mr. James Green from the USA for this fruitful presentation. Even though that there is no presentation, but the great discussion and interaction between our guest speaker and our participants was very fruitful, was very helpful. So many thanks for our guest speaker, for accepting our invitation, for coming and joining this session. And we hope that he will join us time in order to talk about another important topic. And I won't forget to thank our attendees and participants from all over the world. They were very active. They were good listeners and good participants. Thank you very much, and hope to join us another time next week, inshallah. Wait for us in another new topic about dialogues about speaking. How can we stimulate our students to talk fluently in English? Thank you another time, and see you. Please fill the form for certificate correctly, and you will receive your certificate immediately via the email that you wrote inside the form. Good night, and hope you the best. Me, Shawkiya Hawaura from Palestine. Goodbye. Thank you, Mr. James, another time.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.